At night, the Atlanta Union Bank turns into a pressure cooker as Karen McCoy makes her move. She sabotages a security panel, rappels down on a rope, then drills through a wall to reach the vault area using high-end tools. But just as everything starts to come together, the alarm blares. Karen bolts for the rooftop only to realize the police have already boxed her in. There is no clean escape this time. She gets arrested and she's sent to prison. Now her real story begins. This is the real McCoy.
The real McCoy.
Family jewels.
6 years pass. Karen finally walks out a free woman on parole. On the day she's released, they hand back what little she has left: her wallet, her sunglasses, and all the small personal items that quietly remind her who she used to be. For Karen, freedom is not a victory lap. It's the start of a hard new chapter after a long sentence. Not long after, she rides a train and sits alone, keeping to herself. She takes out a photo of her and her son, Patrick, and straightens it carefully. It is a quick moment, but it says everything. No matter what she's done, that child is still the center of her world. At the station, Karen calls Roy, her ex-husband. The shock in his reaction is obvious. Karen explains she's out on parole and she just wants to come by, grab her things, and figure out her next steps because she has nothing but the clothes on her back. Roy refuses. Instead, he pushes the conversation into a controlled meeting, setting it for the next day at a restaurant called Mario's. Karen tries to ask about Patrick, but Roy cuts the call without answering. Karen is left standing there with nothing but silence, in a growing fear that something is very wrong. Afterwards, she stops at a small convenience store to buy food. That's when a pathetic would-be robber storms in and starts threatening everyone. Karen stays out of sight and watches. The guy shoves a gun at the cashier and demands money, but the drawer is locked and the key is with the manager. The robber gets more worked up and tries to take control, then his own bullet drops out, and the whole thing turns into a mess. Karen can't help it. She laughs. The moment flips fast. The cashier ends up aiming a gun back at him, and the robber panics and runs before anyone can pull the trigger. The next day, Karen reports to the police station and meets Gary, the parole officer assigned to keep her on a tight leash. From the start, he's strict and controlling. He makes it clear she must check in, stay reachable, and follow every rule because one small slip is all it takes to send her right back to prison. Karen tries to explain she wants a fresh start, a job, a place to live, and a real chance to be close to her son again. Gary shuts that down. He orders her into a halfway house for a month as the first condition of parole, promising he will only loosen restrictions if she proves total obedience. After leaving the office, Karen is spotted by Barker, a small-time criminal who had robbed the convenience store the night before and just happens to be in the same area. Curious, Barker asks a nearby officer about her identity and is shocked to learn that she is the legendary Karen McCoy. Fascinated and impressed, he immediately goes after her outside. He floods her with questions about her famous robberies, clearly starstruck. Karen ignores him and keeps walking, focused on catching her bus. Barker keeps following her until she ends up missing it entirely. Seeing his chance, Barker offers her a ride. Reluctantly, Karen accepts. Inside the car, Barker talks non-stop, praising the way she pulled off her robberies without using weapons, and even suggesting they work together one day. Feeling uncomfortable, Karen asks to be dropped off at her destination, an office where she plans to apply for a job. Barker still tries to keep the conversation going before she finally walks inside. During the interview, Karen is asked about her work history. She chooses honesty and admits she is a former inmate from a women's prison. That honesty costs her the job, as company policy immediately disqualifies her. Still determined, Karen continues searching for work. She then tries a beauty salon, only to be turned away again without much consideration. She tries a restaurant but is rejected because the position involves handling money. Refusing to give up, she applies at a textile company and even pleads for a chance. This time, she is finally hired.
Thank you so much.
Following the rules of her parole, Karen heads to the halfway house. There she runs into Barker again. Seeing her exhausted state, he offers her a temporary place to stay and takes her to his home. He shows her a small room he has prepared and reassures her that she will be safe there.
This is it. Oh, you worried about what that parole officer of yours gonna say?
Thanks. Oh, really?
Later, Karen goes to Roy's workplace to collect her belongings. At first, Roy refuses to see her, claiming he is busy, forcing her to wait for a long time. When they finally meet, the tension is immediate. Roy tells her that she is not allowed to see Patrick. He admits that Patrick has grown up believing his mother was dead and that every letter Karen ever sent was destroyed. The pain deepens when Patrick suddenly appears, and Roy introduces Karen only as an old friend of his mother. After Patrick leaves, Roy insists that everything he did was for their child's own good. Overwhelmed by anger and heartbreak, Karen slaps him and walks away.
I didn't really have any choice. It's better for Pat. Oh!
Later, Karen meets with a friend and finally lets her emotions spill out. She rejects any suggestion of starting over with a new life or building a new family. For 6 long years in prison, the only thing that kept her alive was the thought of Patrick, and she makes one thing clear: she will never give up on her son.
He's my son. I'm sorry. But he thinks I'm dead.
Well, maybe it's better that way.
Meanwhile, Barker pays a visit to the home of Jack Smith. He introduces himself as a distant relative and quickly hints at the real reason for his visit, offering the name of a skilled specialist for a major job. He mentions Karen McCoy and reveals that she is now out on parole and living in Atlanta. That name immediately catches Jack's attention. Still, Jack keeps his reaction cold and controlled, quietly sending his man Raynard to look for her. Raynard finds Karen at Patrick's school. From a distance, she watches her son playing with his friends, unaware of the danger nearby. Raynard approaches and tells her that Jack wants to talk. Karen immediately refuses, fully aware of the threat behind the request. When Raynard simply shows the gun at his waist, Karen reacts fast. She kicks him, grabs the weapon, tosses it away, and walks off without looking back. Shaken and emotionally drained, Karen returns to Barker's place. Seeing her condition, Barker tries to lighten the mood and invites her to dinner. At first she refuses, but eventually she gives in and joins him. During the meal, Karen admits that she has no idea what to do about Patrick. Still, one thing is certain: she will never give up on her son. Sensing the moment, Barker finally reveals his true intention. He offers her a job and explains that he knows a group of professionals who can help. The moment he mentions Jack Smith, Karen's expression hardens. She stands up and walks away, with Barker following in confusion.
Will people like Jack Schmidt?
Filled with anger, Karen makes it clear that Jack Smith is the man responsible for stealing 6 years of her life. She wants nothing to do with him or anyone connected to him and demands that Barker never approach her again. The next day, while Karen is at work, a coworker informs her that her supervisor, Catherine, wants to see her. When Karen enters the office, she finds Gary waiting inside. He explains that the company ran a background check for payroll purposes and discovered that she is still on parole. On top of that, her application listed her as self-employed, which raised concerns. Karen pleads, admitting she lied out of desperation just to get a chance at work. Gary refuses to let it slide, making it clear that this is a serious violation. He escorts her out of the building and tells her she must return to the halfway house for breaking the rules. Desperate, Karen explains that no one would hire her if she told the truth. Gary remains cold, then suddenly offers another option. He says he can forget the violation if she agrees to go out for drinks and talk about future opportunities. Karen reluctantly agrees, only to realize too late that he has taken her to a large estate. She soon understands that the house belongs to Jack Smith. Gary claims there is a small gathering inside and that powerful people there could help her. As they enter, Karen becomes increasingly uneasy, especially when she notices the dangerous animals roaming the property.
Now, host the animal lover.
When they reach the upper floor, she is stunned to see Jack already waiting for her. The situation turns threatening as Gary makes it clear that she is not free to leave and reminds her how easily he could send her back to prison. Under pressure, Jack finally reveals his true intention. He wants Karen to rob a bank for him. She refuses without hesitation, making it clear she will never work for someone like him, even if it costs her everything. She turns to leave, fully aware that her decision will come with serious consequences. After she walks away, Jack calmly reflects on the moment and concludes that some people can only be controlled through pressure. The next day, Cheryl panics when she goes to pick up Patrick from school and realizes he has been missing since morning. She immediately contacts Roy, who rushes to confront Karen and accuses her of kidnapping their son. Karen is shocked and denies everything. Roy explains that someone had called Cheryl earlier, claiming Karen had taken Patrick from school. Even though he has not contacted the police yet, Roy demands answers. Realizing how serious the situation is, Karen insists she has no idea what happened, but she is determined to find Patrick herself. She takes Roy's car keys and leaves at once, convinced that Jack and Gary are behind the disappearance. That night, Karen mixes sedatives into meat and heads to Jack's house. She throws the food into the yard to knock out the guard dogs. Once they collapse, she climbs over the fence and sneaks inside.
Oh no, tighter.
There she finds clues pointing toward Gary. Karen immediately heads to his apartment, where a neighbor tells her that Gary has gone fishing. Inside the apartment, Karen finds a photo of Gary taken at a place called Lake Lucille.
Lucille.
Without hesitation, she heads there. When she arrives, she speaks with a local man named Sam, who confirms that Gary does live nearby. From a distance, Karen scans the area with binoculars, desperately searching for Patrick. When Gary leaves in his car, Karen seizes the moment and sneaks into the house.
Patrick!
She panics when she hears frantic screaming and repeatedly calls out Patrick's name. After opening a door, she realizes the sound is only coming from a television. She quickly wakes Patrick, pulls him into her arms, and escapes with him. Meanwhile, Gary stops by Sam's place and learns that a blonde woman had been asking about him the night before. Realizing it must be Karen, he rushes back to his villa. Karen's escape is cut short when Roy's car suddenly breaks down.
No!
Gary catches up, slaps Karen, and knocks her unconscious while Patrick screams in terror. When Karen wakes up, she finds herself face to face with Jack. He calms her and assures her that Patrick is safe. He claims he does not want to hurt anyone and only wants the money from the bank. Karen only wants her son back. With no other choice, she agrees to his terms to protect Patrick. She goes to her son, comforts him, and promises she will not leave him. Even though he is terrified, she reassures him until he finally falls asleep. After that, Karen calls Roy to confirm that Patrick is safe. She tells him she cannot return him yet because there is one last thing she must do. She asks him to trust her, even without an explanation. Her next move is to meet Barker and ask for his help. She tells him the truth, that Jack has kidnapped Patrick. Barker is shocked and filled with guilt, but Karen makes it clear that she still trusts him. Karen tells Barker to get ready. He changes clothes and instinctively grabs a gun, but she immediately stops him. She makes it clear that this is not a reckless robbery and that there can be no weapons. Everything must be calm, precise, and controlled. After that, Karen returns to Jack's house with Barker. Jack is clearly surprised by Barker's presence. Karen firmly states that she has accepted the job and that she alone chooses her driver. Barker tries to reassure Jack that he will not disappoint, but Jack responds with a cold warning, making it clear that a single mistake will be fatal. The next day, Karen arrives at the Atlanta Union Bank with a new look and a polished appearance. She poses as a regular customer and requests to rent a safe deposit box. A staff member greets her and asks her to wait for Mr. Kroll. While waiting, Karen calmly studies every camera, every security angle, and the entire surveillance layout inside the bank. Not long after, Mr. Kroll arrives and assists her. Using the excuse of storing jewelry, Karen fills out the paperwork and answers his questions with confidence. He then escorts her 4 floors underground to the vault, protected by reinforced elevators and the bank's most advanced security system.
I thought you'd like it. No problem.
Inside the vault, Mr. Kroll hands her a deposit box. Without raising suspicion, Karen places a thick ledger inside as part of her plan. When the box is returned, Mr. Kroll briefly reacts to its weight, but Karen smoothly brushes it off. Her cover holds perfectly, and she completes the first phase of her plan without drawing any attention. Karen returns to the car where Barker and Jack are waiting. She explains that the bank's security system is far more advanced than expected, especially for a AAA-rated facility. She points out the presence of a VSU system that makes a direct robbery nearly impossible. Jack refuses to accept that and pressures her to find another way. The pressure turns personal when Jack brings up Patrick. That moment forces Karen to think differently. She begins outlining a strategy, showing the layout of the bank and the adjacent security building where all surveillance cables are routed. She explains that once the alarm is triggered, security vehicles will respond immediately. Timing becomes everything. They must know exactly how fast help arrives and use that window with precision. To test it, Karen has Barker drive toward the bank at full speed.
Just drive. Go. Stop.
They time the route and reach the location in 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Karen calculates the worst-case scenario and determines that they would have roughly 5 usable minutes once entry and exit are accounted for. It would be tight, but possible with perfect execution. The following day, Karen returns to the bank and meets Mr. Kroll again. During their interaction, she discreetly presses a small remote, careful not to draw attention. While preparing for the operation, Karen also spends time reconnecting with Patrick. She gently tells him stories about his mother without revealing her identity. She describes a woman who loved baseball, had a strong spirit, and loved her child more than anything in the world. She tells him that from the day he was born, he became the best thing that ever happened to her. The next day, Karen and Barker head out to collect passports and a firearm as part of the final preparations. Karen double-checks every detail and clearly assigns each role.
You get the passport?
Yeah, then I know what to do.
Good.
Barker then heads to the Atlanta Union Bank to open a safety deposit box and store the necessary items according to the plan. After leaving the bank, Barker finds Raynard waiting outside. Raynard grows suspicious and questions why Barker was inside. Barker brushes it off, claiming he only came to close his savings account. When Raynard checks the amount, he sees that there is barely any money left. He mocks Barker, reminding him that they are supposed to be after millions from that bank. Meanwhile, Karen studies the security system in detail, searching for access codes that lead to the vault. At the same time, she assembles several devices needed to break through the system. Once the technical setup is complete, she gathers Jack and his crew to explain the plan. She points out the security cable routes accessible from the basement and explains how the CCTV can be disabled with ease. The real challenge lies in the sound-based security system, which is extremely sensitive and impossible to shut down without triggering an alarm. Instead of avoiding it, Karen designs a plan that uses the alarms in a controlled way, dividing the heist into 3 separate stages. Each stage is timed carefully, with just enough space before security arrives, making every alarm appear like a harmless system glitch. With precise timing, Karen convinces the team that they can enter, clear the vault, and leave without leaving a trace. After hearing the full plan, Jack finally agrees to risk everything for the massive payoff waiting at the end.
5 minutes for each stage. We clean up, we get out. The VSU is the problem.
Volume signature unit. I'm prepared to give it a try.
As the operation draws closer, Karen returns to the Atlanta Union Bank once more. She intentionally stretches out her visit, keeping the staff occupied until closing time. Without drawing attention, she slips one of her custom devices under a trash bin inside the bank.
What do you say I come back tomorrow?
That night, Karen, Barker, Jack, and Jack's crew prepare to move. Before leaving, Jack checks both Karen and Barker to make sure they are not carrying weapons. Karen insists she never carries one. But just before they head out, something unexpected happens. Gary suddenly appears holding Patrick in his arms. His presence makes it clear that Jack has secured his leverage to keep Karen under control. Gary makes it known that he will be the one watching over the child. When they arrive at the location, Jack moves first. He heads to the small security post near the bank, which is guarded by only one person. Using the excuse of a broken truck and the need to make a phone call, he convinces the guard to open the door. The moment the opening appears, Jack pulls his weapon, traps the guard inside, and signals the rest of the team to move in. The operation officially begins from the building next to the bank. From there, the team hacks into the CCTV system, recording footage of the empty bank and looping it so everything appears normal.
Probes.
Got it.
At the same time, Karen activates the device she previously hid beneath a trash bin. The bin moves across the camera's view and triggers the first alarm, followed shortly by the second, exactly as planned.
Moving.
And two more.
Police arrive quickly but find nothing out of place. Once they leave, Karen and the team move toward the back of the building to begin the next phase. The alarm is triggered again, drawing the police back once more. While officers respond, the team uses the brief window to enter, retrieve the elevator key, and open the access route before pulling back on time.
Okay, it's in.
You got 3 minutes.
Test it.
Let's go!
The police check the rear area but find no sign of intrusion. When the alarm sounds for the third time, Karen, Jack, and Barker move inside and break into the elevator leading to the vault. With time slipping away, Karen calmly guides every step and input until the system finally unlocks.
Red 6, and turn. 13,
Got it.
and turn.
Terminus 20.
Come on, Karen.
I got it, blue 12.
Got it.
And turn.
How many 40? We ought to be out of here.
Just a minute. Red 9. And turn.
Once inside, they seal the elevator behind them and exit the bank without leaving a trace. When police return again, they find nothing out of place. Eventually, the alarms stop triggering altogether and police stop responding.
4 false alarms in one night. Friggin' bank deserved to get robbed.
Meanwhile, security officers monitoring the CCTV decide to head to the bank themselves to investigate. Using that opening, Karen, Barker, Jack, and the crew enter once more and head straight for the heavily secured vault. Because cracking it will take time, their first priority is restoring the camera feed to make everything appear normal. Karen and Barker climb into the shaft to reset the footage, looping the recordings so nothing looks suspicious. At the same time, 3 security guards, John, Kev, and Mark, are inside the building. They assume the alarms are just system glitches and decide to stay on duty overnight, unaware that the robbery is happening right under their noses. Tension spikes when Kev, while making coffee, notices unusual movement on one of the monitors, caused by a loose red cable from Karen's device. He calls for John, but Karen reacts fast and reconnects the cable before anything can be seen. The system returns to normal, and suspicion fades. Karen and Barker rejoin Jack and the rest of the crew as the vault breach begins. Using a laser cutter, they break through the steel wall. Karen inserts a specialized device into the opening, connects it to the locking system, and enters the code. The vault door slides open, and Jack and his men celebrate as they empty it of cash. But behind the scenes, Karen and Barker are already executing their own plan. Karen finds Barker's gun inside the vault and slips it into her waistband. When Barker exits with the bags, Karen triggers the remote, sealing Jack and his men inside the vault. They pretend to panic while Jack rages and demands to be let out.
You did it. She did tell you, Jack.
Get us out of here.
Calmly, Karen reminds him that this is the risk of robbing a top-tier bank, something he refused to accept from the start. When Jack tries to fire, Karen draws first. Jack attempts to bargain, offering money and a share of the take, but Karen refuses without hesitation. 6 years of her life cannot be bought. Enraged, Jack fires and Karen and Barker dive out of the way before sprinting toward the elevator. Barker hesitates for a moment, tempted by the $18 million left behind, but Karen reminds him that the money belongs to the bank. Inside the elevator, Karen realizes that Barker has been shot in the leg. When they reach the top, they find a security guard asleep. Karen throws a smoke canister, using the brief chaos to slip out of the bank unnoticed. The two escape in a car, leaving the bank and all the stolen money behind. Even in pain and frustration over the money they left, Karen can only laugh.
Walking away from $18 million, that's pain. What's so funny?
Karen and Barker head straight to Jack's house, with one goal in mind, to rescue Patrick. The moment Gary sees them arrive, he panics and speeds away in his car. Karen quickly realizes that Patrick is not with him. Without hesitation, Barker rams Gary's vehicle, sending it crashing into a wall and plunging into the river beside the house. Gary is left badly injured and nearly attacked by Jack's dangerous animals. Karen rushes inside the house, desperately searching for Patrick. Together with Barker, she runs upstairs and finds a locked room with bloodstains outside the door. Panic sets in. Suddenly, a gunshot echoes from inside. Gary is holding Patrick hostage and threatening his life. In a desperate moment, Patrick bites Gary's hand and breaks free. Barker grabs Patrick and rushes him to the car while Karen fights Gary until he collapses unconscious. Once Patrick is finally safe, Karen enters Jack's office. She breaks into his safe using explosives and takes all the money inside as payback for everything she has endured. Then she returns to the car and leaves with Barker. Meanwhile, Roy watches the news as reports break about a massive and highly sophisticated robbery at the Atlanta Union Bank. Authorities say some of the criminals were trapped inside the vault, while two managed to escape. One of them is believed to be a woman. Hearing this, Roy immediately knows Karen is behind it. Not long after, Karen calls him and asks him to pick up Patrick at the airport at Gate C11 at 5 in the afternoon. After the call ends, Barker asks why Karen is not taking Patrick with her. Karen explains that living on the run with a child is not the life she wants for him. Right at 5 in the afternoon, Karen and Barker arrive at the airport in new disguises. Tension rises when Karen notices police officers nearby. To avoid suspicion, Barker pretends to handle the tickets and brings Patrick along with him, while Karen stays behind at the gate as planned, waiting for Roy to arrive. When Roy finally shows up, he does not recognize Karen at first because of her changed appearance. Once he realizes who she is, the mood instantly turns tense. He signals that he wants to talk privately and subtly reveals a hidden gun as a threat. Roy accuses Karen of taking the bank's money. She denies it and insists the money was left behind, but he refuses to believe her. He forces Karen into the men's restroom and demands that she open her bag. When he sees the money inside, his shock turns into rage, and he begins to lose control. Just before he can hurt her, Barker suddenly appears from another stall and knocks Roy unconscious, stopping him in time and saving Karen. With boarding about to begin, Karen and Barker rush to find Patrick. In the chaos, Patrick looks confused and asks about what just happened. Karen hesitates, then with Barker's encouragement, finally tells him the truth. Patrick is stunned to learn that the woman he believed was gone is actually his mother. The moment is overwhelming, but he slowly accepts it as the truth settles in.
You are my mom. Yes, I am your mom.
Using the new identities Barker prepared, the three of them board the plane. Patrick takes a seat in front, while Karen and Barker sit directly behind him. Just as the plane is about to take off, everything suddenly stops. Anxiety floods in as Karen sees two police cars racing toward the aircraft. She asks the flight attendant what is happening, while Barker quietly prepares for the worst. The tension peaks when officers step onto the plane. Moments later, the flight attendant returns with unexpected news. The delay has nothing to do with them. It is due to an emergency organ transplant that requires immediate clearance. The plane is cleared for departure. Relief finally washes over them. For the first time in a long while, Karen realizes that they are truly free. So the moral of the story is, if life turns into chaos, crime, and bad decisions, maybe it is a sign to pause, think twice, and never trust a plan that sounds easy.